Welcome to the third annual Muldoon Center for Entrepreneurship Dinner celebrating leadership, and I want to thank all of you for being here. My name is Larry Morrow, and I will be your host for the evening, and I promise you that it will be a fast and fun evening. One of the greatest thrills for me was to have spent 35 years on the air and radio and television in Cleveland, Ohio, and it was one of the greatest thrills of my life. One of the great joys of my life was about 2 years ago to have met Dr. Scott Allen, who has a PhD in leadership development, and he has his master's in human resource development. And he said to me, "Larry, I'd like to have you come and teach at John Carroll University." So I began lecturing here just about 18 months ago on linking strategic communications to leadership. And it has been such a wonderful experience for me. So every time I come here, it's like coming home. John Carroll University has been like a second home to me. So for that relationship, I am humbly grateful, and I'm delighted to be here with all of you this evening. Now it's time to meet Father Robert Niehoff, extraordinarily well-equipped to be the president of John Carroll. He has his BA in philosophy, 2 master's degrees in theology, an MBA, and a PhD in educational leadership. And growing up the 7th of 8 children, he has learned to negotiate successfully. Father has worked and traveled all over the world, from the Cook County Jail in Chicago to the Philippines, China, Thailand, and Nepal. And with that background, it is not surprising that the theme of his inauguration was "Embrace the World." A man of character and compassion, I am pleased that our evening celebrating leadership will be led off by our leader. So please join me in welcoming Father Robert Niehoff, the 24th president of John Carroll University.
Thank you, Larry. Welcome to all of you. As friends of John Carroll, I thought I might update you on a few things before we have our dinner. The Pope's visit, which Sam Miller will probably refer to. He was one of the others who was in Washington. And a few things that are happening at John Carroll: the campus master plan, enrollment, new programs, and the open and recently filled leadership positions. First, let me talk about the Pope's visit. Many of us weren't sure what to expect. And as I've reminded a number of people, we forget how difficult it would have been for anyone to have followed a 25-year pontiff who did all of the things that John Paul II did, who had the personality that he did, the capability of bringing a crowd, any crowd, even this crowd, into the palm of his hand. All of us were stunned when the presidents and superintendents met with Pope Benedict, even by the way in which he walked into the room. More than anything else, we were taken by his embarrassment at having such applause. And a few times he tried to end it, and we weren't ending fast enough for him. And then the theme of his talk, he spoke about Catholic education, about its importance in the building up of our nation, and we all know that. We know how in Cleveland, and especially my part of the United States in the West, Catholic education was the key to building up the cities, to building up the social services. So it was education, and it was healthcare, and then it was leadership. So his theme in talking to us educators was about how teaching is not only about knowledge, but is about faith. His invitation to us: as you teach your students, they will look to you to be models of faith, often one of only a few models that they have in their lives. I pulled a couple of quotes about Catholic education from his talk, which I'd like to share with you. And I quote, "If this awakening to the place of faith in life is going to mean anything, teachers require a clear and precise understanding of the specific nature and role, and I'd say contribution, of Catholic education. They must also be ready to lead the commitment made by the entire school community to assist our young people and their families to experience the harmony between faith and life and culture. This is a huge challenge, but whom else might we hope could do this? And then he ends. To all of you I say, bear witness to hope. Nourish your witness with prayer. Account for the hope that characterizes your lives by living the truth which you propose to your students. Help them to know and love the one whom you have encountered, whose truth and goodness you have experienced with joy. With St. Augustine, let us say, we who speak and you who listen acknowledge ourselves as fellow disciples of the single teacher, which is followed in his talk by this simple greeting as he ends his talk. With these sentiments of communion, I gladly impart to you, your colleagues, students, and your families, my apostolic blessing. I'm sure that none of us expected his trip to the United States to have so much impact and so much effect. I'll share with you my image of the Holy Father on the trip back to Rome has him dancing in that airplane. The whole trip was so great, he must have danced all the way back to Rome despite his 81 years of age. So let me talk for a moment about Jesuit Catholic identity at John Carroll. In the last couple years, we've been focusing more on what our mission and identity means, deepening our understanding of John Carroll's historic mission and identity has occurred on a number of fronts. For example, 14 different immersion groups went to 7 states and 4 different countries during the last academic year to immerse themselves in the lives of others. This last week, I visited an immersion group in Jamaica on Saturday. They were not there for the sun and the fun, but almost all the students reported to them this was one of the more important experiences of their lives. I will never forget, as I pointed out to the Archbishop with whom I had worked in the Bahamas, who is now the Archbishop Emeritus of Kingston, Jamaica, his home country. I said, this image of a John Carroll football player shaving this older man will stick in my mind. I'm sure that John Carroll's football players have never done that, probably never imagined doing that, but I never saw such peace as I saw between the two of them, as one who had tremendous need and the other who could help, performed that very simple function. John Carroll has been engaging the greater Cleveland community as never before. We worked with 29 agencies and schools in the fall of 2007, and more than 1,800 members of the JCU community participated in community service for a total of 27,000 hours of community service. You've read in the press and no doubt heard about our campus master plan, our vision for what this campus might look like over the next 15 to 20 years. Contains a number of concepts that we need to evaluate and to act on if we are going to change our student mix and improve our net tuition revenue. The big 3 that come up consistently in the campus master plan are student housing, playfields, and parking. One thing that I hope will happen in the near term is that we will make more progress on restoring this quad out here. For a few years now, the temporary parking lot